Hey, good morning, everyone. How is everybody? See, the clock's already running. It was supposed to be 50, and somehow it suddenly jumped to 49 over there. But, I am thrilled to be here. The headline in the lounge before I boarded my plane, I read in New Delhi day before yesterday, read 120 flights to be affected due to fog and many cancellations. So I had my fingers crossed. It's a pleasure to be here because, for this 2-hour workshop that I'm here to deliver today, I did, and I'm seeing the I'm just checking who's listening. I have 50 minutes, but I could not make it to another conference a few weeks back in Abu Dhabi. So I'm thrilled to be here. Singapore has a special place in my heart. It's not just been a layover for several flights, but also we celebrated our honeymoon here 18 years ago, not too far, the Swiss hotel. So it's a pleasure to be here, be back here. Thank you, ALX team, for reminding me of some of my life's greatest decisions. Thank you. And I love the food out here. I'm an ex-hotelier. I'll tell you a little bit about my story of moving from hotels into doing what I'm doing now. But I do remember opening a restaurant at the Grand Hyatt in Dubai, which was called the Pepper Crab. And little did I know at that point of time that dish happens to be your national pride. Yes, no? Yeah, and the Singaporean chef even convinced me to try frog legs. He was like, go ahead, it just tastes like exotic chicken. And I tried it, and they were really, really nice. So on my honeymoon here, I ordered frog legs. And I tried convincing my vegetarian wife with the same logic that the chef used with me, but it didn't work. What I do remember is the expression on her face. I probably married the wrong guy. It's a pleasure to be here. I hope we'll make something out of this time that we have together. Most importantly, I want us to have some fun together and see if something meaningful comes out of it. It's already been established that robots are going to take over our jobs at some stage or the other. So what are we going to do about it? And I will share part of my personal story and other things to see what we can do to future-proof ourselves. And it's interesting how Singapore has such a solid policy for adult learning. In many other parts of the world, it's just restricted to what I call the WhatsApp university, with information freely floating around on WhatsApp. So talking of back home, in India, we hold Singapore in very high esteem, especially your education system. We really look up to it. When the new government was installed in Punjab, the state where I come from, all the top educators and principals were sent on a study tour here to Singapore so that best practices can be exchanged. In India, by the way, we do produce some very good students also, as some of the top CEOs of major corporations across the world, but I'm sure we can do better in terms of teaching engagement and pedagogy and other things. Always the scope for improvement is unlimited. Put your right hand up in the air as high as you can. Go ahead, as high as you can. Is this your best? As high as you can. Thank you, yes. Is this still your best? Can we do better? As high as you can, go high. There's always scope. Shake someone's hand on your right and left, look them in the eye and remind them there is always scope for improvement. Say it now, please. There is always scope for improvement. Now, my friend at Mind Valley, Jim Quick, tells me that a little bit of movement always helps retaining more to improve your memory. So everybody, would you mind standing up, please? Excellent. Even I was doing a pacing walk, my pre-talk pace outside, because the longer that I sit down, I see more of my ideas disappear. If I walk before I go on stage, boom, it's very nice. It's a different experience. So I want you to get a taste of that. I want to change the energy of this room. Here's what I want you to do. Breathe in. I want you to breathe in and hold your breath for as long as you can, and then exhale. We do it 3 times. Deep breath in, inhale, and hold. With a nice big smile on your face. Exhale. The next time we do it, can we try and make the exhale longer, please? Okay? Inhale once again, deep breath in. And hold. And exhale. The smile thing's obviously not working, so why don't you imagine if you've just won $500 million in the lottery, give me an expression, how would you react? You just got the news. Yeah? Okay. With that feeling, once again, deep breath in, inhale. And hold your breath. And exhale. Rub your hands together. Let's warm you up a little bit. It's been cold in this room. Put in some more energy. Come on, guys. And more. And more. A little bit more. Okay, now rub your palms on your eyes. Take another deep breath. Shake someone's hand, look them in the eye with a smile, and tell them it's a beautiful day. Say it now, please. It's a beautiful day. Before you sit down, I see people already reaching out to hug each other. No sitting down yet. Now, this is going to be a standing presentation. Why should only the speaker stand? No, but before you sit, have you met everyone on the tables and the tables across? Yes, no? More or less, but the usual way. My session is unconventional. Let's do it the unusual way. This, my friends, is the era of execution. I believe is not just the era of ideas. It's always been very, very easy to come up with new ideas. Yes, no? How many of you get ideas in the shower? Raise your hands, please. Plenty of ideas before you go to bed, or in all the weird sort of places, right? And now you can go to ChatGPT, use the voice command. How many of you have ChatGPT 4, by the way? Raise your hands. Do you use the voice function on that often? It is very good. It'll catch up different languages. It's just like your personal assistant waiting right there. And you can go in right now and go into ChatGPT Pro version and type in, I'm delivering a keynote on the future of leading and learning. Give me 10 ideas. And that software will amaze you with very good ideas. Now, none of my content comes from ChatGPT, by the way. Disclaimer. But if you don't like the first 10, you hit regenerate, and that's how easy it is to come up with new ideas. But I believe this era, my friends, will belong to those who execute. It's not the era of ideas anymore. It's the era of execution. People who can go from aha moments to tada moments. Go from what to what? Aha moments, which are easy, by the way, insights, yes, no, to tada moments, which means here I am, I've done it, I've finished it. And that is the most difficult journey. Execution is tough. Ideation is easy. I'd like to give this book to the first person who'll come and take it. The first one will come and take it. The first one will come and take it. There you go. You still have to snatch it from me.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. There you go. You have to take it.
All right.
Yeah, there you go.
Good to meet you.
Thank you. Pleasure to meet you too. Give her a round of applause, please. And for everybody else who at least got up from their seats, especially you came up all the way here. Could you stand up for a second for everybody who got up from their seats, and let's give them a round of applause too. Yes, thank you. Because these people demonstrate that it takes courage. There's a lot that could go wrong. From sitting where you are sitting to going all the way up there to grab a book which you don't know will be yours or not. That's the kind of uncertainty we're dealing with. And we human beings, we don't like uncertainty, do we? There was that statement from the head chief of IMF who said, we may all lose our jobs. That was the headline. That's how the media portrayed it, to grab more attention. And she also said, but we may also increase our income if we learn how to use AI. Great statement. I love it. I love both aspects of it. This may happen or that might happen. But what we're comfortable with, uncomfortable with as professionals, is the uncertainty. Is this might happen or this could happen, right? We don't like surprises. We only like the good ones. Everything else, we call it an accident, right? So in an era where there is uncertainty, I'm so glad we're having this conversation about future-proofing ourselves. If robots could take over our jobs, there is a university in Australia right now which is prototyping something called the LOLbot, right? Which is aimed at replacing stand-up comedians. So they've fed it all the data that is available already online about jokes. And who knows, a few years from now, the keynote speaker could be a machine. With Harjeet's voice, where is Harjeet? Harjeet's deep voice and somebody's ideas and a combination of that. So if the machines have potential to take over our jobs, what can we possibly do? And that's what my keynote will be about. I'd like to share with you a little bit about my story, where I come from, what my background is, and oh, wrong slide. This is not my story. But this was our story, yes, no? Back in 2020, remember? Yeah? When the lockdowns happened and everything moved online. I am not in that picture, by the way, if you're trying to spot me. But difficult times. People had difficulty switching off their cat filters, yes, no? And all those memes and jokes going around. It was a very, very tough time. But we also evolved. I believe human beings can basically stay in 3 different phases: the climb, the plateau, and the descent. What are the three phases? The climb, the plateau, and the descent. And if we're on the plateau for too long, be careful, because that's when the descent might be coming next. So shake someone's hand on your right and left and remind them, always stay in the climbing mode. Say it now, please. Always stay in the climbing mode. And that's where the magic happens. So COVID, with its side effects, did push us into the climbing mode. A lot of interesting things happen when human beings are pushed. Yes, no? Would you like to listen to a story? Some of you are not sure, so I'll go back to the slides. So, is that a yes? Story or slides? So an old Indian story. Deep breath in. Once upon a time, there lived in ancient India a very rich and powerful man, the master of that particular region. Very rich, very powerful. And he had only one beautiful daughter. She was about getting ready to be in the marriageable age, and he was looking for the right groom, right guy to marry her so that his kingdom could prosper. And back in those days in ancient India, they had a tradition wherein they would hold a competition, and the strongest and the wisest and the smartest guy would win, and that's how daughters of royalty used to get married. So remember, there are no free lunches in this world. So this man, he announced a competition. He said, the one who will win this competition will not only get the hand of my daughter in marriage, but also 50% of all my wealth on the spot. Good offer, yes, no? A lot of married people also turned up. They had also heard a motivational speaker who said, step outside your comfort zone. The competition that these young men gathered around a huge body of water, which was full of alligators. And they all gathered, and they're all looking, seeing what's going on. And he said, the first young man to jump in from this side and emerge alive on the other side will be the winner, will be my son-in-law. And immediately, as soon as it announced it, he heard a splash. Somebody's already jumped in, and the whole crowd was cheering him on. Can I hear that sound effect when you cheer someone on? That's booing. No, cheer. Come on, cheer. Let me hear that. So the whole crowd was going, yes, you can do it, you can do it. It's so easy to stay on the sidelines and tell someone, you can do this. But he was getting a lot of this. So not a scratch on his body. He was navigating all these alligators, and he emerged from on the other side alive, not a scratch. The old man was very excited to welcome him to the family. He said, hello, welcome to the family, son-in-law. He said, hold it right there, uncle. I'm a married man. I do not want to marry your daughter. I just came here to check out what the noise was all about. But I will talk to you later. Let me first find out who pushed me into this swimming pool. Who pushed me into the swimming pool? The three modes: the climb, the plateau, and the descent. We've all been in positions in our life when we've been pushed, yes, no? And when we are pushed, that's when we discover more of ourselves. And that's what my story is about. This is not it. That's my story. I was born in a small town in India where most of my family were doctors. They wanted me to pursue medicine as well. And I'm pretty sure, just like in India and Singapore as well, medicine is very tough to get into. So I made some easy choices to begin with. I chose commerce and business. But then something interesting knocked on my door, and I picked hospitality. Right? Working for some of I picked studying hotel management for the next 3 years. Didn't know what I was signing up for, but it took me around the world. So the next 8 years, I spent in 5 different countries. Before 2007, I made the major self-disruption. I returned back to India. That's that image over there. And I started all over again. Repeat after me, please. Never be afraid to start all over again. Say it loud, please. Never be afraid to start all over again. 2007, I had no clue. Many of my family members thought I wanted to manufacture speakers. They couldn't understand the idea of somebody being a speaker. They would say it's a great hobby, but how will you make a living out of it? That was 2007, but it's taking me some interesting places across the world, including stages like these, including the United Nations ESCAP Center in Bangkok. I run this international speaking business from a small tier 2 town in the north of India. That's my story. And it's all been made possible due to the power of constant learning, unlearning, and relearning. And that's my message here for you today. 3 top takeaways from my journey thus far. Number one, take charge. Take charge. No one's coming to rescue you, especially because we are the ones who have signed up to do the rescuing for other people. Yes, no? I divide people into two categories broadly: the lifters and the leaners. What are the two categories? The lifters and the leaners. Educators, we're in the business of lifting. So we should never be the ones waiting for somebody else to come and lift us up. We must learn to lift ourselves. We should take charge of our own learning journeys. Be your own learning and development department, I say. Think of yourself as a one-person corporation. And just like every major corporation has a learning and development department, do you set apart a learning and development budget for yourself? A calendar for yourself, where you go and learn. I do this very often. And these owners of speaker bureaus will meet me at this conference and say, when's your keynote? And I'll tell them, I'm not speaking here this time. I'm somewhere in the back, sitting, observing, learning, taking notes, being quiet for once. Clayton Christensen wrote a wonderful book which is titled The Innovator's DNA. How many of you have heard about that book, The Innovator's DNA? And he outlined the 5 characteristics, or rather the 5 discovery skills of innovators. Any guesses? Singapore? 5 discovery skills of innovators. Number 1, questioning. And questioning is not always external to other people, internal as well. So don't be like going back to your workplaces and constantly questioning your bosses. They won't be very happy with that. Questioning, number 1, internal. Observing. Experimenting. So I hope you do have a list of insights that you want to immediately put to action. A lot of people, the more successful they grow, the more afraid they are of putting things into practice, of experimenting. So it's what? Questioning, observing, experimenting, networking. I hope you've been doing that here. I hope your LinkedIn list grows. Or next time you'll see me at one of these conferences with a QR code printing on my jacket, so I could just say, that is me, right? And finally, so what are the first 4? Questioning, observing, experimenting, networking, and hopefully all of this leads to the magic aha moment, which is associating. What is it? Associating. Steve Jobs, he said, creativity is nothing but connecting things. And I love that. Creativity is nothing but connecting things. You pick up random bits here and there, and suddenly you have an insight, an aha moment. And I hope you put that into practice. So take charge of your learning journeys, be your own learning and development department, and most importantly, the core of what I want to convey to you here is learn with a beginner's mind. Just comes from the Japanese samurai tradition. They call it Shoshin, the beginner's mind, to drop all the baggage that you might have, especially if you're successful, especially if you have a lot of experience, to drop the experience and to use the power of imagination to embrace the beginner's mind. Since I'll be speaking a lot about the beginner's mind, I wanted to give you a little bit flavor. When you develop the beginner's mind, what do people with beginner's mind tend to do? So in this slide, I need your participation. They do what? They dream. I don't hear you guys. They dream big. They live in a multiverse of options. There is excitement for the future. They're not affected by industry dogma. They have what I call the outsider advantage. Okay? They're not from that industry, and therefore they're not afraid to fail. They absorb like a sponge. There's massive T-shaped learning happening. There's relentless what? Come on, audience, there's relentless what? Experimentation, execution, iteration. This didn't work, let me try that. Next one, they don't take setbacks personally. And this is the beauty of it. Since they've just started out, they're just learning. Anything goes wrong, I'm not a failure. I'm someone who's learning this. Just like a kid who's learning how to ride a bike, falls down, doesn't take it personally, right? Parents don't take it seriously either. No parents ever told their kids, you're going to get 3 opportunities to learn how to walk. If you fail, you crawl the rest of your life. No, parents never do that. That's the psychological safety we were talking about. They don't take setbacks personally. They are very agile. Bruce Lee, he said, be like water, my friend. Be like water. Find a way, this way or the other. And most importantly, they practice humility. Reason why I say practice is because when things start working out for you, it will come with a baggage. I made this happen. right? And you need to actively detach from that baggage. It's my experience that made it happen. No. You have to detach from it and think afresh every single time. That's when that learning will really move up to the next level. So, number one, to future-proof yourself in your journey of learning and leading is to learn with a beginner's mind. Number two, in an era where Daniel pointed out, or he also said the human touch is going to be at a premium. Skill number two that we already have, but I think we all need to use more of it, is, everybody together please, is what? Empathy. I've used the hashtag Dil Se because that in Indian means from the heart. Dil Se, coming from the heart. Empathy, your rare ability to step outside, to do what? Step outside your narrow zone of reference and for one step into the world of another, see how things are. What are the problems of this person and how can I help? You see, for 8 years in the hotel industry, I would wear a black suit and stand in a hotel lobby still asking the same question. How can I help you? And now for 16 years, standing on stages across the world, I still ask the same question. How can I help you? It's made an imprint on my DNA. I don't wear the tag of any hotel yet, anymore, but even 9 a.m. before my keynote is to start, I'm standing in the lobby out somewhere. For some reason, people still come up to me and ask for directions or tell where the restaurant is. Or I'm standing in a restaurant, the plates are finished on the buffet. I'm like, really? Okay, it doesn't say, but it leaves an imprint on you. So discover your professional DNA. That's what I'm asking you to do, right? So empathy is the skill that we can develop, and empathy can change not just courses and learning and keynotes, but also dull and boring MRI machines into something exciting. You might have seen this one online. Ronnie was presenting yesterday about his hospital, but this one happened at the Pittsburgh Children's Hospital. Now, stay with me. Imagine the kind of baggage the head of design at GE Medical Imaging, Doug Deeds, would be coming in after he spent 2 years and millions of dollars prototyping his state-of-the-art MRI machine. God forbid, if anyone of you have been inside an MRI machine, raise your hands, please, if you're familiar. And the experience is so scary. The room is very cold, the noises, and it's just not something you're comfortable with. And you're in a hospital, and this is a children's hospital. Now, Doug was obviously very proud because this was state-of-the-art. His team had worked very, very hard at it. But his pride disappeared the moment he heard that his end users, which were children, young children, had to be given anesthesia. 95% of them had to be given anesthesia before an MRI scan could be done on it. And he said, I had that moment of humility, and I was almost in tears to realize what I was calling state-of-the-art. Imagine if you designed an online course and somebody has to be given anesthesia to go through it, or you designed your best speech and someone has to be given some drugs to go through it. And he found himself in a similar spot, and what did he do? He used the same principles I'm trying to convey to you. Beginner's mind, humility, listening, imagination, creativity. Took a step back, removed the chip off his shoulder and, the baggage, and said, we'll start all over again. Once again, repeat after me, please. Don't be afraid to start all over again. And that's what he did. Invited museum workers, primary school teachers, young kids, mothers, and such a diverse group to come and brainstorm. And with a few changes, within a few months, and with his conviction and empathy, this is what they were able to come up with. This machine right here. This one right here. They changed the whole experience. They had some music going on. The staff was dressed differently to calm the nerves of the parents. They had some, the fragrance of a mocktail, actually a cocktail, he said, in the air, and people be like, can I get one of those? He said, no, that's just to calm your nerves. But he said, my moment of pride was not that the anesthesia rates dropped down from 95% to 5%. My moment of pride was the fact when I overheard a young daughter, the young girl talking to her mother saying, Mom, can we come back in here tomorrow because this was so much fun? So that's when I thought, wow, I've really been able to achieve something. And he said, this is his philosophy. Can we read this together, please? 1, 2, 3, let's go. Most effective insights we got came from kneeling down and looking at the rooms from the height of a child. Kneeling down and looking at the rooms from the height of a child. Do we do that with the ones we're trying to teach? Do we try to put ourselves in that position to see, are we designing courses for them or for us? I don't know who wrote it, but somebody once, I read this online. PowerPoint slides are like children. Even if they're ugly and useless, you still love them. And we develop this love affair with our slides. And we don't take the time to step outside what I call the prison of the slides to see what's actually happening inside the world. In the world of education, how many of you know Salman Khan? Not the Bollywood star Salman Khan, but there's another Salman Khan. It's very popular. Sal Khan, Khan Academy. Raise your hands if you heard about him, right? Ex-investment banker. Used to teach his niece in the other part of the United States until the niece complimented, "You do a great job, uncle. You're one of the best teachers ever." And he thought of leaving his job, and what has driven him over the years? Can we read out together, please, what's highlighted in yellow? Everybody together, 1, 2, 3. I teach the way I wish I was taught. I teach the way I wish I was taught. This is the driving force of somebody who's been able to make such a big impact through his videos online. The lectures are coming from, and that's our opportunity there. That's the human opportunity, the empathy, the learning. But please keep in mind, it might sound all very easy here on the PowerPoint, but genuine empathy requires inner work and self-healing. If you're too caught up with your own inner battles, you will not be able to step outside and see what somebody else is going through. Carl Jung, he said, it's only the tortured souls who torture other people. The healed, emotionally healthy person never puts another person through something that's horrible. So I think as educators, I wanted to bring this here because it often gets overlooked. You got to look after yourself. Take a deep breath in, please. And remind yourself that you are your most important asset, that you can only pour into somebody else's cup if your cup is full. If your own cup is empty and you're just going through the motions, this is a rote routine, you won't be able to create the impact that you want. So you got to look after yourself. You got to calm those internal battles down, spend time, and all these things get overlooked in the rush of achievement and social media and making things happen, right? But you have to, because in this business of helping other people rise, we have to take care of ourselves first, okay? So what's it so far? Number 1, learning with a beginner's mind. Number 2, developing empathy, right? And number 3 is my favorite, agility. Agility, defined by the dictionary as the ability to move fast and easily, to be able to think quickly and understand. So I want to do a little experiment to see how agile you are, okay? I need one volunteer up on the stage, please, very quickly, one person. Thank you. Glad you liked it. How quickly can you detach from the past? I think the ability to innovate does not depend more on the ability to come up with new ideas. It also depends a lot on how quickly can you let go of the old ideas which do not work very well now. How quickly will you let go of the old ideas which are obsolete? I don't know, it was Einstein who said we cannot solve new problems with the old ways of thinking, because new problems require new ways of thinking. And what we tend to do, the more experienced we get, the more patterns we develop. This was a pattern, yes, no? 1, 2, and 3 was a pattern. And then we disrupted it. And then we disrupted it again. And the sooner you can adapt to it, the new problems require a new level of thinking. Agility is the ability to do what? Let's read out, it's on the screen. Ability to move quickly and easily, to think and understand very, very quickly. And we human beings have been known to be very, very agile and innovative. Yes, no? Especially when we are hungry. Right? Take a look on the screen. No problems being agile or innovative there, right? He doesn't need ChatGPT, doesn't need robots. We're very agile with the things that we love. We're very quickly, we're maybe not going to work, maybe not as much, when we have to go to work. We're not very flexible then. The stairs were out of order on this day. But with the things that we love, we always find solutions. I think it was in New York when in the metro they came out with this, the subway, that dogs, they first banned them, and then was a huge backlash, and they said, okay, you can bring your dog on board, but it has to be in a container. And what they did not do was define what a container could look like. And this is what people, right? I need my dog, or the husky there is looking really human. You had to embarrass me in front of all these people. I don't know about the expression on the right, but it looks like a disgust and anger or something on those lines. The moral of the story, long story short, I think it can be summarized in the quote by Sunru Suzuki, who wrote the book, The Beginner's Mind, and came up, it's an old concept, but he's the one who defined it, the concept of Shoshin. And he says, in the beginner's mind, there are plenty of possibilities. In the expert's mind, there are only a few. I think this is worth repeating. In the beginner's mind, there are plenty of opportunities. In the expert's mind, there are only a few. And therefore, this constantly changing environment, we would benefit if we learn how to be beginners once again. How we can enter a room or enter a situation and see multiple possibilities instead of the singular one or two. Instead of jumping to conclusions, to be able to listen more, to be able to understand more. A personal story here, before I close. My life used to look like that on the images on the left-hand side of the screen. Traveling in person, delivering keynotes. A lot of you could relate with this if you do international work, pre-2020 across the world. And then all of a sudden, the lockdowns happened. Feb 2020 was the last time I was on stage. As if the universe has a sense of irony, I was in front of 4,000 people. And great time we had together. On my way back, I started getting these messages, stock up, and they're going to be lockdowns. And I grew up in the part of India where we had some trouble in the 90s. I know what the curfews were like, but I thought, come on, there's nothing happening, right? And then everything came to a complete halt. I had 500,000 miles and a platinum membership on my favorite airline in the country, which suddenly went out of business. Moral of the story, if you have a lot of loyalty points, please use them. Because instead of using my points to travel across the world, now all I can do is buy headphones. Right? And but then this happened, and it was a matter of survival for me. I love this quote by Demings. Demings said, it is not necessary to change because survival is not compulsory. Woo. And all of a sudden, my whole thing, this whole speaking business that I was running, thanks to the internet, from a tier 2 city in the north of India, it came to a complete halt. Because a lot of my work depends upon inbound queries and search, and a lot of it is international, definitely involves travel. What do you do? What do you do? You find solutions, you adapt. So we set up this entire virtual studio that you see on the right-hand side, bit by bit, part by part during those 1.5 years. There were Amazon deliveries, thanks to e-commerce. There were deliveries coming in every now and then for us to set up. I was literally, talk about going down on the knees. I was on my knees all the time, fixing those wires, making sure the camera angles are correct, learning about details of all things that I had no clue about. The acoustics of the room, lighting, camera shutter speed, bandwidth, and power backups and whatnot, and how to make it engaging online. And then the empathy part kicked in. You see all these are connected. Learning, empathy, agility. And then the empathy part kicked in because after I did a keynote online for one of my clients in Abu Dhabi, the feedback said, Simerjeet, it was a great presentation, but I could see that you were not able to make eye contact with the audience. And I had a Doug Deeds moment there. Remember the head of GMRI? And we were very proud of you. Oh, we got this mic, and we have this, we have multiple camera angles. And you have all that, and still 200 people could not feel that you were talking to them. So no, we have to go back to the drawing board. And that's when we came up with the idea of using a teleprompter and putting the main screen behind it so I could see the comments, I could see the people on the Zoom screen and still not lose eye contact. It was a tremendous learning experience. Remember the 3 stages of human learning? The climb, the plateau, and the descent. This definitely was a huge, huge climb and hugely rewarding. We don't use the studio as much now, but we do it for podcasting and so many other things. There will always be something positive when you embrace change. I love this quote by Friedrich Nietzsche, who said, "The snake which cannot cast its skin has to die. The snake which cannot cast its skin must die." As well as the minds which are prevented from changing their opinions, they cease to be mind. So we must all not get so caught up in our successes, in our achievements, that they prevent us from changing our minds. And that's the true spirit of a beginner's mind. That's the true spirit of developing agility. So I'd like to summarize and close, mindful of we have 5 minutes left. We'll utilize that for Q&A. I give you a very simple model to remember this. Learn. L for learning with a beginner's mind. E for empathy and execution. A for agility and adaptation. R for rejuvenation. Look after yourself, right? So that you feel refreshed. Fill up your own cup. R for rejuvenation. And N for navigation. Navigating north, which is don't ever let I divide life's main challenges into 2 categories: the core and the periphery. And very often, we get caught up in the firefighting of everyday life. We let the periphery items take over the what? The core items. We made that mistake 2 years ago as well. When we were becoming when I was moving away from being a keynote speaker to becoming a media house, publishing more videos and podcasts and posts, and it was always about social media, things we could track. And then I thought, we're losing our soul somewhere. So in 2023, we paused all of that so we could strengthen our core. So when we did our own envisioning exercise for 24, the slogan that came out was, "Let's strengthen the core in 24." And that's what we're doing this year, cutting out all the flab, removing all the periphery activities to focus on the core once again, right? So it's been an absolute pleasure being here. So the learn model, learn with a beginner's mind, use empathy and execution, A for agility and adaptation, R for rejuvenation and refueling yourself, and N for always navigating north. Find your true north and make sure you don't get caught up in the periphery items of your life. Thank you very much.